Chindabra, my name is Birinkwa Obinemeka, and I am your host for today's show. And today on the show, we're talking about the protests in Kenya and how things have been faring for people in that part of the world. What has happened there in recent times is a thing despicable, but it's a thing not, almost strange to the African continent. Kenya has seen widespread protests across, 35 counties and more. The demonstrations have been, particularly intense in Nairobi, where protesters have stormed the Nairobi city hall and set it on fire. But what are the reasons for the protests? The reasons for the protests have stemmed from different things, but primarily there is a finance bill for 2024 that is about to be passed. Passed in what sense? There will be taxes on the people. They are tasking things as low as menstrual materials for women, for menstrual duties and the likes of that. Why is that so? Kenya is in serious debt. Kenya is owing money to, foreigners, has been borrowing left and right, front and back, and it's about time to pay back. And it's not been able to, meet up the demands of what they were supposed to do. And so what happens? The people are saying, it's too much on us. We can no longer take it. We need help. We need to be, we need to be helped. We need to be heard also. And so what happens? It's already a burden. These taxes are serious burden on the people. And, the National Council of Churches in Kenya have called for people to strongly oppose such a bill, while the President, Ruto, is still yet to really understand the dance of the people. The protests that have been going on there have greatly been pushed forward by Gen Zs who are tired of the old crop of leaders who've been having in that part of the world. Like Kenya, like Nigeria, in 2020, there was a protest called the NSAS, and lots of persons died at the Lekki toll gate, but the government came out to say nobody died. Even when people were on live streaming this stuff, they said nobody died. And yesterday, while I was, still watching the news, somebody was gunned down right behind a news broadcaster who was broadcasting for a foreign media house. And these things happen and almost nothing gets to happen. And the most shocking part of it is that, the president has so-called vowed to bring about peace and stability in the country and in the city. But let's listen to what a president of a nation will get to term what he calls his speech to address the nation and to address protesters.
Most regrettably, today's attack on Kenya's constitutional order has resulted in the loss of lives, also destruction of property and desecration of institutions and emblems of our sovereignty. Today's events mark a critical turning point on how we respond to grave threats to our national security. I assure the nation that the government has mobilized all resources at the nation's disposal to ensure that a situation of this nature will not recur again at whatever cost. I thank our security officers who are on duty today for applying themselves to the best of their abilities in the defense of Kenya and its people. Accordingly, I have directed all the organs of our national security to deploy measures to thwart any attempt by dangerous criminals to undermine the security and stability of our country. as the people of Kenya go to bed tonight, I give you my assurance that your security, that of your families and property, remains my utmost priority. To the young people of Kenya, who I must thank for helping our country organize our democratic discourse around issues, I thank you and assure you that the conversation you have begun around pertinent issues of our nation will continue to inform our policy and governance decisions. As I promised on Sunday, this conversation will not be in vain. I will not only champion for the cause of issue-based, policy-oriented, and tribeless engagement on critical national issues, but also provide a framework for this conversation to be processed and its outcomes implemented. However, our national conversation on any subject matter must be conducted in a manner that respects and honors the foundational values upon which our nation is established, namely constitutionalism, the rule of law, and respect for institutions. It is very painful for Kenya that a conversation this crucial was hijacked by dangerous people who have caused us the kind of loss we have incurred as a nation today. It is possible that the criminals who rained terror on innocent people and attempted to challenge our law enforcement deployments are still determined to continue with their dangerous behavior. I assure the nation of the government's determination to fulfill its constitutional duty of protecting the people of Kenya against all forms of harm. I hereby put on notice the planners, financiers, orchestrators, and abettors of violence and anarchy that the security infrastructure established to protect our republic and its sovereignty will be deployed to secure the country and restore normalcy. It is not in order or even conceivable that criminals pretending to be peaceful protesters can rain terror against the people, their elected representatives, and the institutions established under our Constitution and expect to go scot-free. We must isolate crime from democratic expression and separate criminals from people exercising the freedom of expression and divergent opinion. I shall continue to lead a government that is fully committed to maintaining the integrity of our state, promoting the unity of our nation, and enhancing the peace and security of all citizens and their livelihoods. I am bound under sacred constitutional mandate to respect, uphold, and defend the Constitution of Kenya, which declares that all sovereign power belongs to the people, and that this power shall be exercised only in accordance with the Constitution. The government will therefore uphold its constitutional mandate to secure our nation and its development, and shall treat every threat to national security and the integrity of our state as an existential danger to our republic.
Welcome back from that break. We just listened to the president of Kenya and the speech he just finished giving, talking about the things he thinks he should talk about. And it is so sad that, African leaders think, they live in that time. Times are changing. Bob Dylan would sing that song, "The Time Are Changing." Things are changing. Politicians need to begin to recognize this particular fact that, times are changing. People are no longer that naive. People are no longer that stupid. People are no longer that ignorant of the things happening around government, around politics, and that cheap rhetorics, the likes he did yesterday, are not the type of stuff we get to want to hear from a president when the people are, saying, we need to talk. We need to be listened to. We need you to pay attention to us. We need you to listen to what we want you to do. We need you to do what we want you to do, and not the other way around. The Constitution of Kenya states categorically that power belongs to the people. And in this particular area, the president goofed. The president goofed because he failed to realize that the needs of the people are legit needs. The needs of the people should be looked at. This brings me to talk about, the idea of, African leaders borrowing more than what they can actually pay. Ruto is no stranger to the political landscape of Kenya. He has been there as vice president as far back as, the years back before he became a president 2 years ago. So he shouldn't, lay claims of actually not knowing what's the problem. Cost of living is killing the living. Cost of living is killing the living in Africa. Cost of living is killing the living in many parts of the continent. The continent still being as peaceful. There are lots of war going on, but I tend to call the continent of Africa peaceful because no country or no continent should be that peaceful with the level of docility as what the Africans in their various countries and their various constituencies have put up with their government and their leaders. Their leaders have to do more than they are doing at the moment. A few years ago, President Trump called, African countries shithole. And it was a very, very derogatory thing to do because he tried to, demean the African people, which is a thing Trump is known for. He gets to do a whole lot of demeaning of people and the likes of that. But beyond rhetorics, beyond all of this, African leaders have to begin to put their people first. African people deserve better. Africans deserve the goods that come out of their land. I was listening to Seun Kuti, the son of the legendary Fela Kuti, and he was talking about the gold in Ghana and how it was used. He was reading from, Cheikh Anta Diop's book, and he talked about how, from the pager to almost everybody, gold was accessible, unlike what is happening in our time and in our day. African leaders have to know that they have to cut the cost of living. I keep on giving this popular example. We have a family business. The business is crumbling. The business is falling down. The business is about to die, and people need to see to it that this business don't die. So family members get funds from a bank or from a loaning institution, from a credit institution, or wherever they get these funds from to revive such a dying business belonging to the family. And then some family members, out of mischief and the likes of that, decide to take these funds to go for clubbing, go squander, get some exotic and luxurious cars to drive across places that have potholes and all of that. And don't you think family members would look at them as stupid, as very, very foolish, as very, very devilish and unbecoming of them to have done such. This is what happens in my part of the world. This is what happened in Nigeria. This is what happens in Kenya. This is what happens in Cameroon, as close as it is to me. I grew up just next door to Cameroon, and visits to this place from Manfe to Douala to Panya, as high as Nairobi, and you just cry, you just weep, because people are living below the benchmark. People are living below what they were supposed to do. I'm writing a book. It's called Where's the Lie? Because sometimes you get to see that Africa is portrayed as a dark continent. But sometimes you ask yourself, where is the lie? Is Africa not in need of help? Is Africa, just like most parts of the world, not in need of aid? Is Africa not in need of liberation and deliverance and freedom? Real freedom, which is still a thing so far. A thing many are not even considering at the moment. A thing still hanging in the air. A thing to really be given serious attention to. And it starts with the leaders. Chinua Achebe, in writing The Trouble with Nigeria in the 80s, after being disappointed by the political landscape of Nigeria, wrote a masterpiece in a book less than 120 pages, depending on the version. I don't even think it's even up to 100 pages. He said, the problem and the trouble with Nigeria is simply and squarely a failure of leadership. Leadership has failed, or leadership was meant to fail in Nigeria, in African countries from the very beginning. But I think it's enough to point out the ills being done by foreign bodies that try to get to mitigate things and get to see that these people are left perpetually in this particular place they are. But we also have to ask ourselves, are the leaders of this country so stupid, or are they just being complacent and acting as accomplices, keeping quiet and allowing people die, allowing people suffer, allowing people weep, cry for things I don't even know? Luxury, cars, houses. How many do they live in? How many? How many houses can this guy sleep in? How many? It's so annoying. It's so sad that Congo is still having its problem with accusing fingers pointed at Rwanda, that Sudan is still fighting up until now, that Cameroon has not experienced peace in a very long time, that Nigeria is still where it is, and cows are treated as citizens. Cows are given more priority because of the trillions they get to bring into the country than human beings. So that up until today, in the 21st century, in 2024, cows still roam around the federal capital territory of the country, roaming around just imagine you are in a capital like ours now, and cows are just seen everywhere, roaming the street. Sheep, name them, walking around. I know in Switzerland, around the countryside, they still get to do this practice. The cows are done with flowers and all that, but it's not on a regular. It's not like the norm. It's just sad that leaders in my part of the world are yet to understand what life should be like.
Wars fighting over Gemini and Pisces. Every corner it's war and crisis. Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda and ISIS. How come the poor people are the nicest? Africa blessed with a lot of beautiful history, but these people make us feel like everything's a mystery. They make us live lives in a jittery. We pray to God Father to give us victory. Take a look around the city now. No love, what a pity now. 21 look like 50 now. Hatred making, you know. Back then she was a cutie now. You no longer do your duty now. You follow girls with big booty now. All you do is booting and looting now. So
heal the world, spread love and heal the world, heal the world, heal the world. Let love heal the world, heal the world, heal the world. Spread love and heal the world, heal the world, heal the world. Let love heal the world. Oh, 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 oh,
sickness is the touch man a deep inna. A mother dying of beep inna. Father not get no deep inna. She a feeling school OGP now. False prophet them preaching now. Fake thing them teaching now. The girl them bleaching now. And the boy them snitching now. Who am I to know the judging now? When everything is not original. Bad mind and grudging now. Father Lord it in a put me now. So
heal the world, spread love and heal the world, heal the world, heal the world. Let love heal the world, heal the world, heal the world. Spread love and heal the world, heal the world, heal the world. Let love heal the world. Oh, 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 oh.
heal the world, heal the world. Heal the world, heal the world. What I say? So
Heal the world, spread love and heal the world, heal the world, heal the world. Let love heal the world, heal the world, heal the world. Spread love and heal the world, heal the world, heal the world. Let love heal the world. Oh, 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 oh,
Welcome back to Anything and Everything on Emmy Radio Warsaw. I am your host, Obinna Emeka, and we've been talking about Kenya. We've been talking about a whole lot of things and how these things get to affect the people of Kenya. We are a people, on the crossroads of either having peace in the world or having chaos. We don't want chaos. Chaos is a thing we cannot afford. Chaos is a thing we don't want to see. But then there are too many fightings, and then there are too many unrests around the world, from those in Yemen to those in Syria to the Taliban's down the other side to unrest in Cyprus and Turkey and all whatnot, down to Indonesia, to India and Pakistan on the other part of the world, to the potential invasion of Taiwan by China, and as close to us here, the Ukrainian war going down here. It's 2 years already. It's 2 years and counting. We're heading towards the third year, and the war doesn't look as though it's ending. With the crazy conditions Putin came out the other day to give, as to what should be done before talk about peace or talk about ceasefire can even commence. It's so annoying. It's so sad that people are benefiting from armed struggle. People are benefiting from these wars, and it's so funny and it's so sad that these wars are not ending anytime soon because of greed. Greed has shot men's heart. We no longer think the way we're supposed to think. We no longer do things the way we're supposed to do things. We just behave as though we are robots. We just behave as though we are controlled, just the same way machines get to ask us if we are human beings. So also we begin to act as though we don't use our head, we don't use our instinct, we don't use our senses and the likes of that. We just do things because we want to do things, and life cannot continue this way. We cannot grow if we continue living on this particular ideology, and we will just continue to have sorrow, and we have sad people around us, and we have weak people, we have people who will be dependent, there will be poverty in the land, there will be continuous, hardship, and people will just die. Sometimes I go on X and I go on different platforms and I begin to imagine how certain persons get to reason. You might hate Trump for what you don't like about him, and there are many. But when asked about the war, he said he's not thinking about who wins or who loses the war. He's thinking about, if he was president, how to end the war. We have to end the war because people are dying. There's hardship in the world. We have enough to go around. We have enough to be enough for everybody. But the wickedness against man to man has shut some out of the bounty of the creation of the world. And that is what we find in places like Kenya. That is what we find in those young youths who came out in their numbers to, get to say, what? We are trying to say we are tired of this particular bill. We don't want it to even come up. It doesn't make sense that such a bill comes up in the first place, because there's already so much suffering for the people to even start managing and thinking about. Talk more of the new legislation, and these guys were even willing to do this. It is how sad. More than 100 lawmakers voted. I think it was a tie, and was to be decided by the president. And he was willing to go that extra mile of assenting to such a bill that would tax things as, pads for women and things that are supposed to be necessities, basic amenities for everybody. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case, And so the streets of, Nairobi and beyond were all alive. There were protests. People have been, up to now, people are still protesting. Citizens walked all across this place in unity, in opposition to, that so-called so-called finance bill. That piece of legislation, it threatens to increase the burden on the people, and it wasn't a funny thing. From the bustling markets to, quiet suburbs, the air were thick with people. The air was thick, with people, and it was also funny and sad at the same time that security operatives couldn't stand with their people. Security operatives couldn't give themselves a chance to think, a chance to reason, a chance to be human, a chance to do the things that they were supposed to do. Making the speech of the great comedian Charlie Chaplin come true and come perfect. Let's listen to his counsel. We were to listen to the speech by the great Charlie Chaplin about, a speech that has come to be called, the speech of the last speech of the greatest dictator that ever lived. in our time and in our place. He talked about a whole lot of things in that particular speech. He talked about, what soldiers should do and what soldiers should not do, and what was supposed to be done and what was not supposed to be done, by the people, and how things should ordinarily go.
I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
I wish that was the case yesterday. People were killed. Men, women, children. And today it hasn't stopped. The president has come out to, say some funny things, as they normally do. First they will start by saying, the protest was hijacked, and then the same thing they normally do at every point in time, I just know that a revolution is coming. But I don't want it to be a revolt. I want a revolution. People always think about revolution from the negative perspective. The first thing that comes to mind is the French Revolution and all that. But what is the dictionary definition of revolution? That is what we should be looking at. What's the real meaning of what a revolution means? Taking a step back, looking at what we've done and saying, we cannot continue like this. We need a turnaround. We need something to change us. We need things to go the other way. And that is what the continent is getting. So like Kenya, like Nigeria, like Cameroon, like Ghana, like Congo, like Sudan, like Niger, like Burkina Faso, like all these parts of the world and many other places that unrest have, changed the course and landscape of people's life. All these places. We need a bit of humanity around these places. How can soldiers turn and fire live bullets at peaceful protesters? And why would people protest in the first place if a government is supposed to do what they are meant to do? Leaders were put in power for the good of the people and for the good of the society. That's why they are called politicians. But then things get to change. Things get to change. When I look at all of this, I remember the poem by D.K. Chukwumerije, Fix the Politics. It cuts across different geographical locations and different geographical positionings. It's a poem that speaks to, the heart of issues, that speak to the heart of the problems the continent has, and with the eye of a senior man, with the eye of a serious thinker. DK has done a lot. DK has said a lot of things. DK has, helped us to really come to understand indeed what we as a people are meant to be looking at, what politics ordinarily should be, what this thing should be, and how they shouldn't go. And it's a clarion call for as many persons that these things are not going to go on this way forever. Things will change, power will change hand. People have to begin to realize this. Politicians die, and whatsoever they think will live forever would not do so. My heart goes out to the people of Kenya and how they go about their daily business nowadays, and how they should indeed, work at seeing to it that life gets better. It doesn't make sense that in the 21st century people will be living below $1. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that families will still have to go hungry in Kenya. It doesn't make sense that people would have to sleep hungry, that people would be sad, that people will live in total subjugation beyond their fundamental human right, and those who try to speak are either killed, attacked, or their family threatened, and their life thrown behind bars, and all what they try to live for just go like that, as though they are not human beings, as though they are not worthy of living, as though they are not supposed to be alive in the first place, as though nothing counts, as though all what people get to say don't get to touch them. How they are able to, just close their eyes, shut their hearts, and shut their minds to the happenings around them, and how they live in luxury, how they live in plenty, baffles me on many fronts. I don't have words to describe how heartless politicians who see to it that their people suffer can comfortably do so without any prick of conscience and still move around. It's so sad. It's so annoying. I'm so concerned as to how this can happen, as to how stuff like this can go on unabated, and they still want complete loyalty from the people. They still want the people to be so quiet. There should not be protests. Those who try to protest are considered, rogues, are considered bad people, are considered hijackers. From the very speech we had from the very beginning of this broadcast, we hear the president saying all manner of things that don't meet reality, things devoid of empathy, things devoid of truth, things devoid of all what I cannot think about at the moment, things devoid of a whole lot of goods and a whole lot of ways of doing things and living life and moving on as a people, things devoid of sanity. It's just sad. It's just so sad that we have to go this way.
Listen, a broken road does not understand the Igbo. It will not maim the Fulani and let the rest of us go. The accident it will cause will take all lives, for when a vehicle somersaults, it breaks all bones. So, you can speak Nupe till morning comes. It will not build libraries in our public schools. And when a young woman, lies dying in childbirth, your fluency in Ijaw will not save her life. For Christian or Muslim, it makes no difference. When you are being driven around in an ambulance from hospital to hospital in search of oxygen, northerner or southerner, you die suffocating. You die of causes easily preventable, like no fear for police to respond to your distress call. No water, no lights, no nurses, no jobs, nothing kills as efficiently as bad governance. As politicians in office who do not pay salaries, whose response to bad roads is bigger SUVs, who set up committees and publish white papers presiding over affairs that never improve. Politicians in jeeps with minds in London, perpetual latecomers to every meeting, irritated by anyone with a different opinion, who see the people as a throne to sit on. Politicians in power who personalize the state, who criminalize criticism and terrorize dissent. Nothing in society kills as efficiently as a politician in high office with low mentality. For you see, Boko Haram will burn down a classroom, but a politician can swallow the entire school system, can fold our power stations and put in his briefcase, can roll up the railways and keep in a house. Politicians can file our seaport away in a drawer, can cripple all our farms with no fertilizer. No matter the passion you bring to your startup, government can kill it with just one pronouncement.
Those against any.
And no degree you hold, no grammar you speak, no decision you make to just face your work, no protest you stage can save you from those elected to make and enforce our laws. The way they see things is a wall around you, for you cannot drive faster than the person driving you. No matter your wealth, education, or achievement, you are subject to the mentality of those in government. Politicians in office hold the yam and the knife, for to elect is to give the elected power over life. Which child will remain a Marjorie or become someone better? These things are in the hands of the people in power. Politicians in office hold the farm and the seed, for to elect is to give the elected power to decide whether security operatives can murder citizens and walk away free. These things are in the hands of those who run the country. So, if you are tired of it all, then strike at its roots. If you are tired of needing a letter from a senator to get a job, if you are tired of saying you're also frustrated by the public policies, if you are tired of insecurity, then fix the politics. If you are tired of the anger in our streets, if you are tired of the number of children who die before the age 5, if you are tired of the dreams suffocated in our youth, if you are tired of this shame, then fix the politics. For until they are there in public office, men and women with a heart for public service, no tribe, no tongue, just commitment to build a functional nation that fills us all with pride. Until they are there in the highest office, men and women with a heart for selfless service, no region, no religion, just commitment to nation. Until we elect them, we labor in vain.
So it's sad. So sad. DK Chukwumerije just gives up a rap as to how these things are, as to how things are, as to how things can be done, as to how we can go. And all we can say for today, we're going to talk about this in a subsequent show. We're going to delve deep into it and get to see how these things get to play out, because indeed it matters what happens around us. It matters indeed. It matters how things get to go. It matters how we get to see life and get to see our realities. And we also are adding our voices to the voices of Kenyans out there who are being killed. And we say, may the souls of as many persons and the souls of all those departed in this unfortunate situation rest in peace. May they continue to rest in peace. And as Bob Dylan will continue to tell us, the answer indeed is blowing in the wind. I've been your host, Obin Emeka, on Anything and Everything on Emmy Radio, Warsaw. See you next time.